Today is what day today? It is 12 March. March 12, 2025 is Wednesday. And the main topic of the week is ceasefire proposal by United States and Ukraine that was reached. The agreement on which was reached in Jeddah yesterday. We didn't discuss yesterday because we were still waiting for Kremlin answer. And I've been reading a lot of analytics on the potential answer from Kremlin. So I would like to get your input now, because what do you think? What Kremlin is going to answer for the Trump proposal?
Well, I couldn't say much because
One second, I have to say more, something more. It's 30 days ceasefire, complete ceasefire, not like Zelensky used to offer Trump, like a ceasefire on air missiles, missile attack, air attack, and sea attacks, and attack on infrastructure. It's not that ceasing of hostilities. It's complete over 800 miles of the front lines, ceasefire, no military activities whatsoever for 30 days, during which supposed to big round of negotiations happen for final peace agreement. For our listeners, for our audience to know what we're talking about, because that's kind of important stuff. So I'm sorry. Let's go back to your opinion. What do you think Kremlin answer going to be?
So it's a bit hard to determine now because besides what you just stated, they are keeping the exact details of the ceasefire, like um, sanction status, right? They're keeping that more obscure. I think that if sanctions are appealed during the ceasefire, at least, Kremlin is going to be obviously much more likely to accept that. But right now, just a stopping of hostilities would. I don't see how it would be more beneficial for one side. I do see how maybe it could be beneficial for Ukraine in a morale boost. Ukraine's already accepted that deal, obviously. So
and also for regrouping the troops and getting rest.
But that's beneficial for both sides, you know. So I think for Ukraine it is more important because they need to get a break, right, for once. But more than Russia, I think. But also, if it comes to just a ceasefire, even if it's temporary, it's kind of proof of progress to the Ukrainian people, right? Then we have the fact that Ukraine was immediately willing to accept that. They accepted the deal basically as soon as the concept was proposed.
Hold on. We saw Zelensky in White House saying no ceasefire. We don't want ceasefire right now. Putin is not the guy who we can go into negotiations even. We saw this scene. Now everybody like considering whatever happened yesterday in Jeddah between United States delegations and Ukrainian delegation is just like consequences of what happened in White House and seizing of offering Ukraine military assistance and sharing intelligence. Now, after that agreement with United States and Ukraine was reached, it was resumed right away. Both things, military assistance and sharing intelligence. And for Ukraine, it was not like something they wanted to do in the beginning. They didn't want to just ceasefire. They wanted partial ceasefire, not full. But whatever they agreed to is just, I think, is a manifest of more flexibility under pressure from the United States. Trump applied enormous pressure on Ukraine at that point of his side of the trying to be an honest, impartial broker, as he trying to possess himself. By the way, that honest and impartial broker, including that all meetings, him with his delegations, his Russian delegation happened in Riyadh, and his delegation and Ukrainian delegation happened in Jeddah, not in United States. That attempt of meeting in United States failed, as we saw.
I know.
Yeah, I'm just for our audience. So it's not like they were willing to accept it right away because Trump offered it. No, at first, whatever Trump offered, they didn't want to accept. Zelensky didn't want to accept. So now we are on a different page already. So now they accept, and the ball, as everybody in American delegation saying, on the Russian side. So the question is, again, coming back to the question, would Kremlin accept the offer? Do you think? Let me rephrase the question. Do you think Trump will need to offer something delicious to Kremlin in order for them to accept it? Because all military analytics suggest Russia right now is winning on the ground, even considering American sources like Wall Street Journal today. They said that Russia is getting more and more land every day, and also size of the Kursk region pocket that Ukrainian forces had reduced in size in half already, and they entered today in the center of Sudzha, the region capital of the place that Ukrainian had a pocket. So now the situation on the ground right now is not an Ukrainian advantage; it's a disadvantage. So for Russia, just from military perspective, they don't need a break, just break. And Putin many times said that we're not interested just in ceasefire because, according to Kremlin narrative, Ukraine disobeyed. Not a problem. Ukraine disobeyed previous agreements, Minsk I and Minsk II. According to Ukrainian narrative, Russia also disobeyed that. I mean, we're not comparing narratives. We're just saying that from Russian military perspective, just ceasefire is not beneficial. So my question is, what for Donald Trump, what can he offer to Putin for him to accept, to make it more palatable for hawks in Putin's surroundings, which are many, and also from the point of view that he is saying that Ukraine going to use it to regroup and to get more munitions, and with new forces, with renewed force, started again in months fight. And for Russia, it's going to be losing momentum of right now, which momentum they're right now having, according to their narrative, I'm saying, according to their outlook, of how they look at things.
Yeah. Okay. So you just said a lot, right? And you asked a question with a pretty narrow response, so I do think it's a bit unfair. So first, I'm going to address the Western narrative. Ukraine, in my opinion, Ukraine was not immediately ready when they talked in the White House to accept a ceasefire, because Ukraine, first of all, was insecure about their relationship with the United States, like you said. They needed confirmation that they were going to get support from the United States, and once they were, and once the aid began to flow again, then they were more open to negotiations, because then they knew that they had a lot less to lose, right?
Hold on, but they first agreed, and then aid was resumed.
Yeah, probably because they were given a promise that if they agreed to a ceasefire, they would resume aid.
Logical.
So
it's a given, right?
That, and when we talk about the Russian momentum, there has been progress in Kursk, but according to Ukrainian sources, first of all, in Kursk itself, the Russian advance has been slowing and the pocket has been freed, but as well, in parts of the Donbass, Ukraine has begun a few small counteroffensives. When we talk about Russia is gaining more land every day, maybe, but they're gaining like a few miles, and they're gaining towns or villages at a rate of like one every week, and those villages are like small Soviet era high rises. They're not with like 80 people in them max. They're not capturing large villages. They're not capturing.
But they slowly, you're right. But they slowly advancing towards very important hubs in Ukrainian logistics. That's important to understand.
Well, the hubs are always going to move as the front line moves, right? So it's easy to deconstruct and reconstruct hubs, because that's how war works, right? So yeah, they're inching towards the hubs, and then they're going to move the hubs eventually, right?
Okay.
Yeah, because that's how war works. That's how supply lines work.
Okay. But understand the consequences of just dissecting any supply and closing one supply route for the group of troops that are depending on that supply route. But I'm not a military expert, neither do you.
Yeah.
So now, what's the Kremlin answer going to be?
God knows. I'm going to say, in my prediction, they're going to try to obviously, they would be stupid to not try to maybe shift it a little bit in their favor. But I do think eventually it will amount to something, even if it's not a full month, even if it's not a full ceasefire, it will amount to something. But I want to place emphasis back on to the sanctions because the sanctions only work if they're consistent. If you're consistently keeping sanctions on Russia and you don't relieve them, then they can work at least to a certain extent. If you remove them for a month, then you give Russia a decent amount of time to recuperate some aspects of their economy that were harmed by these sanctions.
1 second. What do you think? Now, so you're saying right now, or at that point, that if Trump will be trying to make Kremlin agree to his proposal, he shouldn't give them any even temporary relief of some of the sanctions. Or you can accept, for example, if Trump will allow them to go and be take out some of banks that responsible for let's say getting money for gas and oil, also which Europe buys through third countries or United States. Some get instead of Canada oil, which is also a problem that we can get soon. Not today, though. We're not going to discuss again the America-Canada dynamics. But America will need hard oil like sulfur oil, and Russia is a very good source for that oil, for example. So hold on.
Yeah.
So you're saying that any attempt of Donald Trump to persuade Kremlin to accept his offer on a basis of taking those banks that are right now out of SWIFT, for example, back to SWIFT for 30 days would not be productive?
Uh, could you like kind of rephrase?
It's a complex question. I'm sorry. So let me say it in simple terms. So
No,
can you approve, like accept the idea that Trump can offer some temporary relief from some of the sanctions to Russia in order for Kremlin to accept the proposal?
I think because Trump and his foreign policy administration behind closed doors have kind of said that Ukraine joining NATO would not be realistic and Ukraine getting its land back would not be realistic. Sanctions are America's biggest bargaining chip right now because we've already given up a lot of the things we had to bring to the table, right? So when we go into negotiations, keeping the sanctions on is, in my opinion, the last big thing aside from just continuing to fund Ukraine itself. Sanctions are the last big thing in the way of Russia just taking away a complete victory from the war. I think that if we let up on sanctions, then we will lose a large amount of our negotiating power, and it will then we will have wasted a lot of money. It would not right now. I don't think we've wasted a lot of money. I think the money has been put to good use, the money that we've given to Ukraine for aid. But if we are to just stop sanctions and basically allow Russia to rebuild whatever was harmed from the sanctions, then it will.
For 30 days, you think you can rebuild something for 30
I think
days?
for 30 days, it might be a gateway to just never putting them back. Or
But you don't. If it's going to be a settlement, you don't need to put them back. Because otherwise, you understand that Russia will never sign any final peace agreement without removing the sanctions completely from American side. You understand that, right?
What do you say?
That Russia will never sign any final peace agreement, not ceasefire, final peace agreement, without removing of the sanctions.
Of course.
So,
yeah, I understand.
So again, so you think that those 30 days is going to be a principal difference if they put those banks, for example, back to SWIFT?
I don't think it's going to be very crucial. I do think that it will have some effect, and that, like I said, it could be a little bit less. It could like loosen our kind of bargaining power, even if it's by a little bit. It's happening for no reason. And if Russia thinks the same way you do, they're going to not care that much about removing sanctions for 30 days, right? So then it's a different conversation.
But you look, again, the question remains, Because for them right now to accept the ceasefire, because the other side of Trump is saying that if they won't be flexible, Russians, we're going to impose more harsh sanctions on them. And he's saying that openly. But I think saying Trump, it won't be necessary because they're also interested in ending the war. That's his side. Now, on what conditions? Because Russians in Riyadh a couple of weeks ago demonstrated to American delegations that at certain circumstances they are interested in peace, and in certain circumstances they can go for it. But the thing is like that. Now, Trump, from his point, needed big thing now. He helped to get a ceasefire in Gaza. Now imagine less than 2 months in office from his political point. Less than 2 months in office, he stopped war in Ukraine. It's stop. Ceasefire is a stop of the war.
No, I'm sure. Okay, are we talking about what is? We're talking about a matter of narrative, right? The
No,
Western...
not narrative. Goal of administration.
Okay.
It was declared on election trail, and it was repeated every single day. I want to stop. I'm a man of peace. That's Trump narrative. I'm a man of peace.
Yeah,
I want to stop. I'm not starting wars. I'm stopping the wars. I'm stopping wars. So now imagine less than 2 months in the position, he stopped the biggest war in Europe for last 80 years. Do you think he can offer Putin something of value?
I'm sure he would love to. I think, because I am a Democrat and I lean left, that I think Trump would. He's already on decent terms with Putin, and it would boost his confidence and ego to end the war in Ukraine. That's without a doubt.
It's not about his even confidence and ego. It's about the goal of the administration, you see? And he redefines American national interest. He's saying it's not our interest as United States to have Russia and Ukraine having a war on the European continent. And we're not interested in being in confrontation with Russia. We want to be, we can have our difference. It's called compartmentalization. We have interests that can be joint interest. We can have questions and disagreements, but our disagreements should not get into open confrontation. We can manage that. We can compartmentalize. Like that closet is our interest coincide. That closet, that drawer, our interests not coincide, and that we have a opposing interest, and that have to be managed. Now, the best way, according to Trump, to manage it is to have agreements with Russia, for example, which involve a lot of economic and trade and stuff like that. By the way, pure liberal model. Besides security, you have cooperation. If you have cooperation, nobody's interested in destroying that cooperation if it's on a normal scale, like rare earth agreement, for example. The same with Ukraine. And if you have them and Russia and Ukraine and United States in the same pool of economic cooperation, then it's nobody's interest to continue the war. That's a liberal idea, by the way, I'm sorry. But that's how it's presented by administration. In vague terms. I mean, I'm just saying that out loud, like for to have at least little understanding of the big picture. We're looking at big picture. Because if you're going to talk zero-sum game, that's not possible for anybody to have win-win. But we can have win-win now, Trump is saying. So for that, first, ceasefire should start, and then big negotiations, three-side negotiations. USA as a broker, Russia and Ukraine, three-side negotiations. And then we can come to that thing, which nobody will need even security guarantee from that, because the best security guarantee is joint interest. That's liberal, by the way, thing.
I'm sure it's liberal. But the point is, I'm sure Trump can shift what the interest of his administration is, but he cannot shift what the interest of the West is. And fundamentally,
he did.
The interest of the West does not
he
depend on
divided right now Atlantic on national interest, because Europe is continuing in the old narrative that we need to weaken Russia, we cannot let Putin win. Yeah. Trump is saying different things. Listen, let's win together, everyone now.
But it's not possible. I'm sorry.
It is possible.
You don't win together. There's no winning together in a world like
what
this.
You're saying, it's realpolitik only.
I know, it's realpolitik.
But that's how liberalism came about. They come, okay.
Liberalism did not come about due to realpolitik. I'm sorry.
It's on base of it. It's that security is important, but if you cannot, the whole idea, if you cannot get rid of your opponent anyway, And anyway, you will have to live next to him. There is no way he can be out of the map. Like Russia and Ukraine, there is no way it can be out of the map. Like America and Russia, there is no way it can be out of the map. It's going to be there. So the best way to continue is cooperation, because then win-win. But if you continue to fight, you're going to have a zero-sum game. Somebody going to win, somebody going to lose. And not going to lose totally, so it's going to be again and revanche and again, and that is not good.
But I think when you say it's a zero-sum game, well, first of all, I do want to say that liberalism, I'm sorry, I have to go into history, but liberalism as a concept, even in geopolitics, existed way before realpolitik emerged under Bismarck and those kind of pioneers. If you want to say Machiavelli
realpolitik emerged even before from Greeks. Then walls. I mean, not walls. Then Hobbes
was
a
totalitarian.
Yeah, it's really.
Hobbes is not a realist. Hobbes said this is why the state needs to exist. And
That's
that kind of led
realism
to
too.
the development of liberalism, which led to the development of realpolitik.
No. I think you're mistaken, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Okay.
But realism before. Machiavelli is before liberalism. Liberalism is Rousseau, Kant. By the way, Kant is the most important liberal theorist. I would say he is a mother and the father of modern day liberalism with perpetual peace. So, but it's conceptual discussion. We're not going to go into it. So let's get back to our question.
Okay.
Do you think Kremlin will accept Trump offer?
I think not. I don't think they will accept it immediately as it is. I think they will try to change a few aspects in their favor, which will probably not be hard with Trump. And I think that will be the end result, and we'll see how the negotiations go. Because I can't see that far in the future. I'm not a professional, right? So, but to the extent I've just outlined, I think that's how it's going to go. But it's very abstract. It's not very, obviously, it's not a very secure position to have, right? But
Thank you, David. Thank you. We're going to continue. We were discussing together, me, Kirill Zadov, and David Zadov, my son. We were discussing potential for ceasefire, for agreement on ceasefire between the United States, Russia, and Ukraine. Thank you very much, and we're going to continue that. Thank you, David.
Bye. Thank you.